Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. I have with me Miss Jennifer Zeng from Inconvenient Truths. And inconvenient truths about no less than only one country, that is China. What's happening inside China? There's a lot of bad news coming across. So let's try and find out what she has to say about what's the behind the red curtain in China. Namaste, Jennifer. Thank you so much for taking out the time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you. So, I want to ask you just to open the conversation, what's happening inside China? There's so many different news that comes out in terms of the economy, politics, the firing of the generals, so much which is there. I think China has been more active in the news in the past 6 months rather than the past whole year. So, how do you see this charade of news coming out from all directions? Military, economics, civilians, everything.
Yes, I think just as you said, Xi Jinping has a nickname in China like accelerator of reverse or chief accelerator because people say he's accelerating the big vehicle of China, but backwards. He's taking China back to mouse time and he's accelerating everything. So that's why we saw more and more, big events and big news happening in China because he's still accelerating everything and the reverse path to cultural revolution. So we see like you said, the purge in the military and in the political circle, and also, of course, with his accelerating backwards policies, the economy is going down very, very, very fast, especially in the several days. China's share market plunged like really collapsed. When the share market in the entire world are going up, China's share market is going down despite they just announced they had a very brilliant GDP growth last year of some 5.2%. But immediately after they made this announcement, they both Hong Kong the share market in Hong Kong and in Shanghai and Shenzhen all went down very, very deep. So that's why we see this big news coming out of China every day. It's all thanks to Xi Jinping's acceleration.
It's very interesting that especially the stock market, $6.3 trillion got wiped out. I mean, and the Chinese have put out a news saying that we will invest 280 billion.
Yeah.
That's a joke. It's not even 1%. Not even 1%.
Yeah, so they actually, I think, right after the several days deep drop in the share market, Xi Jinping gave another important talk as how the financial sector or the function of the financial market should be different with the financial market in Western countries, where you in China you should not put profit behind your loyalty to the country, something like that. That share market is the function is not for people to make a profit, but to show your support to the country, something like that. That's why people were so scared because once he said the housing are for people to live in, not for you to make profit or to just play around with it. And then the real estate market really collapsed. And now because he is saying the share market is for our businesses mainly to raise funds, not for your ordinary, investors to play around and to make profit. So this is, everybody, I think every business in this world, their main property is, of course, make a profit. Otherwise, they can do charity, not do business, right? Business about, of course, is making profit and making a good return to their investors. But Xi Jinping is required investors in China's share market not to put profit as the top priority. You think about your loyalty to the country, or you think about the principles, or whatever contribution you should make for the country. If people want to make contribution, they can donate to charities, right? The people invest in share market, of course they hope to gain a return. Otherwise, who is doing that? So Xi Jinping's idea is totally against all the normal principles in normal market economy. So that's why as soon as he made these remarks in the so-called financial meeting, and then people really vote with their feet. Like a lot of people are leaving China now and withdraw their funds from China. That's why you see all these big drops.
I mean, it's so funny that he gave this speech and the entire stock market just collapsed after that.
Yeah, because
Mm.
he is requiring the investors to not think about making a profit in the share market. Think about your love for the country, something like that. So it means if you lose your money, you are contribute to the country, to our beloved country. So don't complain. So be calm down. So everybody got scared after he talked about these principles.
One of the things that we're going to see now is the semester in China ending, which is going to end somewhere in March or April, right? The college semester that ends. So
Yeah,
that's going to have another 3 or 4 million people coming into the work market again without jobs. Now,
yeah,
that is a big point of time where China will kind of see a big jerk, because till now those guys are on paper employed, because 1 hour of employment
yeah,
a week, they kind of get
yes.
that. But once they come into that market, how will they
Yes,
handle?
that was a big problem now. I shared several pieces of news like the unemployment problem in China this year would be huge because if we say a 10% of downturn in economy, it would the market the market will say 120 million unemployed people, and that number is too terrifying for any government to face. But this is the reality that China is facing now. And we all know that last year, since in June, I think the so-called unemployment rate of the youth is reached a record high of 21%, 21.3% or something. They stopped releasing the number, and now this year I think they announced it again. They say they made some adjustment of how to calculate this youth employment rate, and then they announced a new number of 14%, which is of course much lower. But they especially said they excluded students in China. As you mentioned, yes, China in recent years, every year they have 11 million people who would graduate from the university. And according to internal information, a lot of even very good universities, their students only. I shared a post a while ago that for Tsinghua University, that's their own internal number, more than 80% couldn't find a job. Only like 8% or less than 10% of their graduates found a job. So another over 80% choose to continue their study, to be graduate school student or do a master degree, do a doctorate degree. It's because they couldn't find a job. So virtually only maybe 10 or some percentage of the university graduates were successful in finding a job. So that's the reality in China now, and the situation is getting worse because once the trend is formed, or like a huge trend, once it started, or once it started to going downhill, it has to be going down faster and faster and faster, unless you have a huge some kind of force strength to stop it. Otherwise, it has to be crushed. It's going down until it crushed. There's no stop.
How do you see in this aspect the whole military purges that took place? Because this was big, 53 officers in the last year and
Yeah,
9 officers at the same time,
yeah.
and now there are two things which I read, and if you can please comment on this, is that one, because Xi Jinping feels strong enough in the military to take out that many people and still know nobody in the military will do anything to him. That's one. And two, he's feeling threatened from the military, and he's wanting to kind of take out the people that he's feeling threatened by. Which one would you go by?
I think maybe both are correct. I think number one issue is the corruption in the military is really really severe, and because of the corruption, they really damage the PLA's ability to fight. Because if they really put water into their rocket when Xi Jinping wants to invade Taiwan, then all their rocket will be filled. Of course, he would be very, very angered if he found out this kind of issue exists. Another, I think, possibility is the military personnel, because they are in the military, they knew a little bit more about the ability of the real fighting ability of the PLA. And
Hmm.
they don't think there's a chance that the CCP can win a war against Taiwan or even against the US. So they were passively or actively resisting Xi Jinping's push to have them accelerating their preparation toward the war. And then they are regarded as unloyal to Xi Jinping. And that is something Xi Jinping can tolerate the least. So anyone who he regards is unloyal to him, and who doesn't listen to the order, and who doesn't have the heart to fight, is a traitor. Is a For him it's a betrayal. So he wants to remove it, because I think he has been using 10 years of time to consolidate his power. Initially, I think I think after he came in power in 1913, very quickly he removed the vice chairman of the CCP's Central Military Commission, two of them, and like Guo Boxiong, Guo Caihou. So from then on, he had already, I think, virtually eliminate the branch or the faction that were we can say promoted by other CCP faction like Jiang Zemin, and the other CCP leaders, and so he get all his. I think in all these years he promoted hundreds of some kind of generals. So he put a lot of people in there. So I think he must think he has the confidence that he has enough control to do whatever purge he wants to do.
That's very, very this thing, that the kind of purges which are happening, it's not something uh, regular for any sort of professional armed force to go through.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's no, that's all right. You want to take a minute to drink some water?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. You can talk.
So, one of the things is that we see that one is the purges. Fair enough. You're taking out people, they're not competent and this and that. What does that tell you about the whole structure of the military? You're taking out people, saying, okay, he was corrupt, he was not competent, we've taken him out. Fair enough. But that means your entire training structure is terrible. Your
But the
entire auditing
problem
is terrible.
is, if you really want to deal with the corruption issue, everyone is involved. Especially, I think it's already a CCP's tradition. Like if we We are all taking materials back to home. If you don't take anything, we of course we are not happy with you. We are only feel safe if everybody is doing this together. So if he really wants to deal with issue and he do some investigation and he would find everybody from the top to the bottom are all involved in the corruption. Unless you don't want to deal with it, if you want to really to deal with it, you have to remove them all. Otherwise, how you can deal with this issue? And that's why I think he actually in the past few years he has did a so-called a very thorough so-called military reshuffle. He initially CCP has different kind of zoning, like how many all zone you have. So he have reshuffled everything. So I think that's why he is able to do this purge right now.
It's very, very heavy. I mean, the kind of stuff that he's doing. You know what we always wonder. See, these news and all that stuff comes out. Previously you could not get all this stuff out from China. Today you can. But one thing that we don't get to know is what the people are feeling about all this. What do the people feel about losing so much money in the stock market suddenly?
I think people are definitely not happy. A while ago, just I think maybe yesterday or the day after yesterday, when the CCP, some of their channels were live broadcasting the share market index, right? So many people are, in Chinese, especially in the Bilibili channel, while you're watching something live, you can type in your comments. We call it pop-up window. So in all this pop-up window, I think thousands of viewers are popping up 美股必胜, which means American market will win. So that's a way to protest him. And then they immediately censor the word 美股, which means American market. So everybody start change another word called 美丽必胜. 美丽 in Chinese, it's similar to 美国, right? The first pronunciation is same, but 美丽 of course means beauty or beautiful. So they start typing in the beautiful must will win. So that's a way to protest because they are seeing the praise for the United States market. United States market is I think reaching its record high and a record high and a record high. So if you say they chant the American market is going down like this and the Chinese market is going down like that. So a
Not
lot of
bad.
people, yeah, are actually protesting with this method, and everybody is typing the same word, 美股必胜 or 美丽必胜, or it's either mean American market will win or the beautiful will win. So as a protest, when I think an investor even share I've lost all my money, I'll do something huge to take revenge. I'll do something for everybody. Of course, people are very, very unhappy, especially when their own interest got hurt. Even I don't know whether you know the chief editor of the Global Times, Xi Jinping. He retired now. He was very famous a while ago as a PPP of a CCP's propaganda personnel, right? He actually is investing in the Chinese share market now, and he's sharing his experience about his reporting how many. Of course, he hasn't sold any of his shares of, so he hasn't lost any money. But because of the price dropped, so in theory, he already lost a lot of money. So he was sharing his achievements or lost every day, and how even he, as a chief, propaganda personnel for the CCP, he started saying some unpleasant things about how, the market is going down and the government should think about it, should think about our investors and do something. Otherwise, the stability of the society will be affected. Even he was complained of course, very very subtly, but as a but so people are watching like him with a lot of interest, and to make jokes about him, and even people are hoping that he would lose money, because as a CCP guy, he got a lot of enemy for himself. So many funny things happen.
He's a funny character. He's got into trouble
Yeah.
so many times. you know,
Yes, he's very entertaining person, and now he's losing so much money. Especially, I think when the market was over 3,000 point or something, the index, he was saying, "Oh, if and it just started to drop," and at that time he said online publicly, if the index dropped below 200 or 2,800, it will be the iron bottom, strong bottom of the market. I'll invest more to because you got into the market at the bottom. You when the market goes up, you will win money, right? So when the market really hit 2008, and people are all challenging him, hey, it's time for you to buy more. He really invest, I think, 112,000 or some more money in it. And then I think just yesterday or the day after yesterday, he lost another 10,000 because the index drops. He just invested more. So people are all watching him making fun of him. So that's
you know,
quite
I,
interesting.
yeah, it is. And it's so sad the kind of money that they're losing. And the Chinese had whatever said and done, the country has so much potential. Uh,
Yeah,
if they
yeah,
if
it's
they
sad.
kind of just did what they need to do, they have so much potential to do stuff, and they've kind of just ruined everything.
Yeah.
Uh, it's. I mean, for us who are so-called enemies of China, it's damn good, fantastic. But when you look at it as a human level, you're like, what are you doing? You've lost your entire country.
Yeah.
But one thing is there, that the aggressiveness of the Chinese have not come down at all. As a matter of fact, they've got a issue with Philippines. They're threatening that the war with Taiwan will start anytime now.
Yeah.
Uh, Xi Jinping, it seems, told Biden on his face that we are going to invade Taiwan, which is very interesting. So, how do you see the whole Taiwan game playing out, especially with the new election coming across?
I think actually for the CCP, it is widely believed that the condition for Xi Jinping to be able to break the CCP's own rules, like the term limit rule to have a third term, was that he promised he would solve the Taiwan issue during
Ah,
his term. That's why all the other CCP guys agreed for him to break the rule to have a third term, because that's the he made it a precondition that he will take back Taiwan in when he is in office. So that's so. And also, if you look back of about what the CCP has been doing all these years, I think they are seriously preparing for a war. Like they have the war mobilization system, like defense mobilization system set up in entire China, and they have the so-called 供销社 system, which is a marketing and supply cooperative system. That was a system used in during Cultural Revolution, where the government is in control of purchasing anything and sell anything. So any private business are not allowed to buy products like from the farmers or sell them. So only the CCP can buy products and sell them. So whatever you produced, it belongs to the CCP, and only the CCP can sell stuff. So that is the so-called supply and market cooperative system. So this system is re-established throughout China, and in many big state enterprises, they have set up the so-called People's Armed Forces Department, 人民武装部. That is also a concept established during the time when the CCP was preparing for a war against Soviet Union, that in Cultural Revolution system. So that system involves it is a military unit set up in the state-owned businesses where if the war happens, if anything happens, then all the employees of the state-owned enterprises can be changed into soldiers in no time, and they are also they can recruit new soldiers for the CCP. So those in this they didn't report it very in a high profile way, but there were some news. In a while ago, I think several months ago, I did a piece of report about that. If you search for People's Armed Forces Department, you got dozens of results which indicates that this kind of People's Armed Department have been set up throughout China in all those kind of big state-owned businesses and institutions. So they are quietly, you can say, preparing to declare an emergency or war emergency state at any time. Of course, on the other hand, they were waiting and observing for the best, I think, timing for them. Initially, they were talking about, they want to watch the result of the Taiwan election. They tried very hard to influence the Taiwan election, but unfortunately, they didn't have much succeed. Taiwan people voted with their, I think with their vote told the world what we really want. We don't want to be reunited with the Chinese Communist Party. And of course, another, I think, very important time window is after the US election. The United States now is very divided. If no matter, it seems to now it would be a run again between Trump and Biden. No matter who wins, there could be huge division in America's society, and there could be a huge chaos. Like after last election, some sort of chaos already happened, and the CCP's strategy is to purposely create division and chaos in the United States. So if huge chaos happened, they say the United States would be too busy dealing with the domestic issues than interfering with or have a political will as a nation to go out to fight for another country. So the time after the US election this year, that was in November, right? And before the new president came in office, that is another possible time window for the CCP to do something. So, and another possibility is, I think there was a very famous Chinese economist sharing his view that actually it doesn't matter. We all think in a normal person's logic, we would think whether Xi Jinping or CCP would decide to fight a war, they need to consider whether they can win the war or they have enough power or strength to win the war. Actually, this economist said, no, that's not the consideration of the CCP. They don't need to win the war. They just need to bring the nation into a war state emergency so that they can impose greater control inside China to solve their internal problems. So the goal is not to win the war. The goal is not even to take back Taiwan. The goal is they need a war emergency state to declare martial martial law within China. So they might also choose to create small scale fights or in the South China Sea area with Philippines. That's what they were doing. They've already, or with Japan in the Sakaku Island area, or even they could even take back small, isolated island like
Yep.
Jinma Peng, that is far away from Taiwan but very close to China. They can take, those two very
Kinming,
small, yeah, Jinmen,
mm,
Penghu islands, and declare to
not very.
Chinese people, yeah, we've taken back part of Taiwan, and then we are at war with Taiwan, with America, with Japan. Then as long as it can be war can be declared in China, that's what they really wanted. That's the only way they can maybe dodge all the internal crisis they are facing now. There's no other way whatsoever. So that could also be a scenario we can observe.
I mean, that's something that makes a lot of sense because uh, one, they'll be able to kind of control uh, the population pretty easily and kind of crack down when they want. But that's what kind of astonishes me, that do they really need an emergency to do something inside China? Because China is, as it is, an emergency sort of a state.
Yes, but yes, China is under very, very tight control. But still, like recently, there was an incident. I think it happened in a very far, I think, southwest remote place called Guizhou Bijie. It's Guizhou province, where people got their money deposited in a small so-called of rural bank, and when they go to take their money, their money has gone. They couldn't. They were told they couldn't withdraw their money.
Yeah.
So the villagers were so angry. So they smashed the bank system. So right now, if all the banking system have the similar problem, in a normal state, all people go to the bank, like if there's a bank run happening, the CCP's all banks would be collapse in no time, but right. But if a war is declared, they can announce now, because of the war, nobody is allowed to withdraw their money from the bank. All bank accounts are
Yep. Yep.
frozen
Yep.
now. Or they can set a limit. Everybody can only withdraw 100 or 1,000 per day. So there are still some kind of room for the Chinese people to move around their assets, their money, to withdraw their money, to buy stuff. But if the war is declared, they can freeze everybody's bank account to solve the financial crisis. I do think the banks are having huge problems. Not only they are covering up it, and only because the news hasn't been spread out, but occasionally we saw news like somebody is complaining that, like a while ago, it is when the people go to try to withdraw their deposit, they were told their deposit were turned into a funds, like a funds to invest in some kind of other project, like if you are saving money, you can take off your money anytime. But if you are investing in a funds, you can't take out your money at any time, right? So the depositors were told that their deposits were turned into some kind of funds without their knowledge. And there were reports like people are complaining it's harder and harder for them to withdraw cash from the ATM
Yep.
machine.
Yep.
There is
Yep.
or sometimes you go to the bank branch. They give you numbers. They only serve 10 customers every day. If you are the 11th, I'm sorry, you have to come tomorrow. So
Mm.
these kind of limitations are quietly already set up, and only not many people going together. So, but these individual complaints, we can see this once in a while. So this already tell us how serious the problem is. So if a war emergency is declared, it's another story. They can, freeze everybody's bank accounts with a very legit reason. Now we are at war with Taiwan, so we need, freeze everybody's bank account until the war is finished.
Now that makes a
So
lot of
problem
sense.
feel problem solved.
Yeah, I know but that makes a lot of sense because they need a reason to kind of control the financial situation and this and that.
Yes,
It's
and
really amazing.
even people are talking about this 3 year of COVID lockdown. Do we really need to lock down people like that to prevent the virus? Or maybe they just want to use the virus as an excuse to do a test run for how severely they can control the society without any public fighting back. So far they were very successful. They found they can easily lock everybody inside the home without any meaningful resistance. So this gave them a lot of confidence that they can impose maybe harsher control over the Chinese population without problem, because 3 years lockdown, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't think of this angle of it because it's quite funny, and you can see people in China also realize that there is a problem. That's why you can see the money flowing out of China. I mean,
Yeah.
the FDI has actually gone into minus. That means people are removing more money from China than they are putting in. So I'm sure a lot of the risk analysts are telling people that, listen, this might happen, so be careful. Jennifer, let's do one thing. Let's take some questions. There are loads of audience here, and we'll take some interesting questions that they're asking. I had some questions, but a lot of the people have asked those questions. So let me just put it on to the audience so that you can interact with them. Guys, you can follow Jennifer Zeng by just going on to her Twitter account. It is Inconvenient Truths by Jennifer Zeng. Her ID is Jennifer Zeng 97. She also has a YouTube channel. Please follow that so that you can, get information about China. Uh, one of the things that one of the biggest advantages that she has is the language. She can speak both English and Mandarin, so it's easy for her to kind of help us understand what's happening in China. I'm really grateful she takes out time to spend with me. Uh, Guys, please like this video in numbers so that we more and more Indians actually reach this. Especially the last answer is very critical. We need to kind of look at that very, very carefully. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you've not. Please spread the word about Dev Talks, and yes, you can contribute towards the Dev Talks efforts. You can use the QR code up there, or you can use PayPal, which is in the description, or you can send super stickers or super chats. Right, let's see. The first super chat is Lucky Thakur. Thank you so much, Lucky. He says, hello, Adi sir and ma'am. Xi Jinping's big power foreign policy risks overreach, making enemies on all fronts, alienating potentially valuable would be partners and unifying rivals. Your thoughts?
Yeah, yes, I think that was one of the biggest mistake or Xi Jinping made. I think he overestimate China's strength. In Deng Xiaoping's time, Deng Xiaoping has a very famous slogan or policy called "Tao Guang Yang Hui," which is hide your strength and bide your
By
time,
your
right?
time.
But for Xi Jinping, because I think after China was allowed to join WTO or World Trade Organization, it did experience a huge, I think, uh, expand in its economy scale, and because of the Western technology and investment, China did gain a lot of power and money in terms of the economic scale, and became the number two, second only to the US. I think then this gave Xi Jinping a lot of you can say confidence and arrogant. So he started to talk about, 东升西降, the West is declining, the East is rising up, and he guess it's time for China to have a say in the world and to share some of the dominance that America is sharing. And also Xi Jinping, I think he's he always talk about 不忘初心, which means stay true to your initial, you can say, aspiration. So the communism's initial aspiration is to liberate the entire world. So if you want to liberate the entire world, of course you need to have a dominance in the world. So I think it's a kind of misjudgment he made. He thought time is ripe for the CCP to start to make more pushes in the world and to gain dominance and to replace the US, to start to set up the CCP's new rules and have everybody in the world to follow the CCP's new rules. Because as a dictator, he has a say about virtually everything in China. So I think very naturally he wanted to expand that power to the entire world. Otherwise, he wouldn't be feel satisfied enough.
Sure. Jay, thank you so much. Ms. Zeng, thank you. Adi, thanks for the podcast. I heard China is investing 100 billion in chip designing. Ms. Zeng, your thought, please.
Yes, I think the CCP has been doing that in the past several years, but unfortunately, so far, all their investment has failed. All those big projects. I think I shared a video several days ago, like or several years, or maybe several months ago, like a huge cheap company they invested become a so-called rotten tail project again. So the building was abandoned, the grass was growing inside those brand new buildings, and they invested a huge amount of money, but people really didn't, I think, use that money to try to develop any new technology or make breakthroughs in their own technology. So those money got again corrupted by whoever to set up these projects to try to you can say embezzle money from the government. So because Xi Jinping really wanted and hoped that China can have their own technology so that they can be free of US sanctions. So, but unfortunately, it wasn't successful now, and I don't think it will be successful in the near future because I think the one of the CCP experts actually once made a video which I translated into English. He openly claimed that China's policy is to induce the Western companies to come to China and learn from them, learn that they'll take over their language or their technology and their business and then kick them out of China. So in this way, they have another term called 弯道超车, which means they take over while you are making a turn. Because whenever, when you have a car race, when you make a turn, you need to slow down. So they want to take over you when they are slowed down. So they've gained a lot of advantage by stealing other people's technology. They get used to it, and it's so much easier than investing yourself and spend decades or billions of dollars to develop and own your own technology. They are too used or accustomed to making easy money by stealing other people's technology. So I think they've already lose the heart or the initiative to do anything by themselves. If they can steal other people's technology, why spend so much money? And also it needs a lot of efforts and a long-term plan to develop this kind of technology. And also, I think now the cooperation between different countries and companies are so intricate and complicated. No other, it is impossible for even like for America, the most advanced country, to own every technology. Like America is now relying on Taiwan to make these chips, and we rely on the Netherlands to produce some kind of machine to be part of this process. So it's a very modernized, complicated process to achieve what it needs trust, it needs cooperation, it needs to share technology. Everybody maybe is only very good and one step in the whole process, and then people cooperate and do fair trade and communication and use the, you can say, patent technology of other country and other companies. Only by abiding the rules, and everybody is competing and developing under the same kind of fair market value, can everybody make advance together. But China doesn't want to be part of that order and that platform. So even if it wants to develop another independent system of its own, maybe it has this wish, but I don't think there's a chance for it to succeed.
Sure. Dr. MPC, thank you so much. He says, Ms. Zeng, in which direction do the one Chinese people and two the CCP want their nation to go? Expansionism with conflicts or stable, settled borders? Well,
Especially with conflicts. I think the Chinese people, of course, want peace, prosperity, or I think a lot of them have realized now without freedom, you lose your prosperity, and if you only run after prosperity, you will lose both. So the CCP, of course, they want to be in power forever. So they'd rather, turn the Chinese people poor to keep in the power, because they figured, like, if you have too much money, too much easy life, you will start think about gain more freedom, or to start to have some rule of law, so that you can protect your private property, your private assets. But for the CCP, as long as they can be in power, they enjoy so much special treatment. Like in Cultural Revolution, when millions or tens of millions of Chinese people starved to death, Mao Zedong had his big banquet for every one of his meals. So it doesn't bother the CCP higher ups that people suffer, they can still enjoy a relatively very good life. And especially now, they have special supply department established throughout all the different levels of government. They have their own special supply chain, so they don't bother whether people are suffer or not. So of course this will be a huge problem, but how things will develop, or the people win, or where the CCP win, it's still, I think, an issue to be watched. We really don't know right now.
Shashi Prakashji, thank you so much. He says, is Xi Jinping sinking by his health very fast?
Yeah, I think we had, reports or rumors about him suffering of some kind of health issues. If you watch him sometimes when he visit other countries, it seems he had a problem to walk steady. So somebody saying he had some brain problem. He got some. He refused to take operation, and recently, I think it's just several days ago, he attended a funeral of somebody, and the people from the TV report, they think he has lost a huge amount of weight. His suit no longer fit him. So So it could be that he's having a huge health problem. But another strange thing is for this huge meeting, like everybody has a cup in front of them when they have these huge meetings. But Xi Jinping always has
Yes.
two cups in front of him. So people have always want to work out why he has to have two cups instead of one cup like everybody else. So somebody think maybe one cup is for him to have his medicine. In Chinese medicine is liquid, like
Yeah.
herb, the Chinese herb medicine. So that's liquid. So that could be in a cup. So in China, yeah, the CCP leaders' health status is top national secret, so nobody is allowed to know. But it seems from his appearance, at least he has lost a lot of uh, weight, and sometimes he can't walk properly. And of course, he's under huge mental pressure. If so many people are plotting against him or are trying to, you know, get some coup to turn over him. I believe this thing really happened. You can see now every time whenever he went out of Beijing to visit some other provinces, he needs to have everybody on that street to close their door.
Yeah.
And yeah, and sometimes even people were asked to leave their home to visit
Mm.
another city, so to keep all the street virtually empty. And so that kind of this like crazy security measure never happened before. So that means how terrified he is that somebody would try to kill him while he was visiting somewhere. So that kind of mental pressure, I think, would do a lot of damage to anybody's health.
Absolutely correct. So I'll take 10 minutes of your time more. We've got some questions, some more questions. Let's just kind of run them through faster so that I can take in more people to interact with you. Dr. MPC, once again, thank you. China is politically a communist and financially a capitalist country. How are the people able to bridge these conflicting ideologies in their mind?
I'm not sure whether it's a financially capitalist country entirely. I think in essence, they learned something from the capitalist system like the share market, but a lot of company that is traded or listed on the market are still state-owned companies. So the private market, the private sector is playing a smaller and a smaller role in China's society. So overall, I think it's still not an entirely free or capitalist system like what we understand in the world. It's still a very much heavily regulated and uh, you can say controlled economy or financial system by the CCP. For example, all the big banks are owned by the state, and the government, the CCP can tell the banks who they should lend their money to, and their financial policies, their interest rate, everything I think is controlled and regulated heavily by the CCP. Like even for Alibaba, once Jack Ma, I think everybody think once he was the richest person in China, he built up such a huge internet empire, and he was going to have an ant group to be listed, and that would be the biggest scale listing in the entire world in human history, and this and that. But as soon as Xi Jinping said no, Ant group cannot go going to be listed, and that is only in several days, several years. Jack Ma has totally lost his control over Ant, group or Alibaba, and he is said to have left China recently to avoid being getting into more trouble. So I don't think that China is a totally free or capitalist system like other countries. Excuse me.
Interesting. Interesting name this person has. Putin's Z Alliance. Thank you so much. Uh, Zeng, ma'am, if China may go to war with Taiwan, which is a US vassal, then why did the Financial Times report that USA begged China for help in with the Houthis in the Red Sea? Can we trust the Financial Times? Your opinion?
No, I don't think so. Financial Times, I think, if I'm not wrong, is the only Western media which is allowed to run inside China. So a lot of times, yes, a lot of the reports are maybe neutral or very professional, but a lot of times it, it is very subtle. I think the CCP in recent years are getting clever and using more subtle ways to spread their propaganda. They don't do it directly using their own propaganda machine. They are trying to either hiring Western journalists or Western influencers or have, Western media to cover a certain of issues and also to talk about issues from the CCP's perspective or adopting the CCP's narrative. They are getting clever and very, very subtle. But so that's why when we read reports from the so-called mainstream media, sometimes we do need to be very, very careful.
This is an interesting question, uh, which I want to take out of turn, which says Xi Jinping's plan, China and the Chinese are not meant to work. It is the USA and Europe and others that are required to work and serve the Chinese in letter and spirit. What went wrong?
Sorry, I don't quite understand the question. Are not meant
He's
to
saying
work.
in the Chinese big plan, the Chinese were supposed to be kings and not work and make the Americans and everybody else work for them. That was the big plan, but that's not happened. What went wrong?
Or what went wrong? Because that, I think, what was wrong with the communism? Because the communism idea is itself against all the rules of either the nation or the nature or human civilization. For example, the CCP talks about we need to fight against the heaven, we need to fight against the people, we need to fight against the earth. They think they can fight against, the heaven, the earth, the people, 与天斗、与地斗、与人斗。And they enjoy it. So that is against, I think, the natural, you can say, principles. The natural principles, the traditional natural principles is the human being is part of the universe. You can live peacefully and in harmony with the universe. You can take good advantage of the universe, but you can't damage the universe. And also in Western culture, we believe everybody is created free. But in the CCP culture, they want to have everybody controlled. So in the
Yeah.
end, I don't think they will succeed in anything they want to do, but because they are against the natural rule, the entire human civilization. Only they didn't realize that yet, and still there's a way or maybe a long way to go for us to have all the Chinese people realize this themselves and stand up and fight against the CCP.
Kshitij, thank you so much. He says, should China do friendship with India? That way we can build a common trade route and no one in the West can defeat us. That's true. China can, not the CCP.
Yes, I agree. I agree. The CCP, I think it's not inner, you can say inner culture or inner spirit to work with another party. They, even if sometimes they do want to work with another country, they want to corrupt you, your leaders, to bribe you, so that they turn you into a puppet. So
Yeah.
I think the CCP does not have the culture or spirit to respect another nation, another people, and to cooperate and really work together like a uh, equal like countries. They somehow think whoever has the power has the say. If you are smaller or if you are weaker than me, you should listen to me. So that's, and if they think the US is more powerful than them, for the time being they were, shut their mouths by their time. But whenever they think they have enough power, they will start to talk. So
Sure.
I don't think the CCP can really cooperate with another nation or country like with mutual respect.
Gauriji, thank you so much for your contribution. Last two questions I will take. Hello, sir and ma'am. World Economic Forum loves China's way of control and government functioning, and mostly CCP also approves of the World Economic Forum. That's true. Au contraire, Putin calls Klaus Schwab the Satan and World Economic Forum as failing. Who is right here?
I do think the World, Economic Forum has a lot of things. We can say, well, Marxism. There are two kinds of Marxism. One is promoting violence, which is adopted by former Soviet Union, by Lenin, by Mao Zedong, by China. Another one is cultural Marxism, where they promote they advance Marxism ideas, but with peaceful means. So the slogan, the idea are very similar. Only the approach are differences. So it is not surprising that the WEF and the CCP would have a lot of common, you can say, goals or common slogans, and they approve and support each other. Of course, on the other hand, Putin got some different ideas. He is at odds with some of the Western countries and leaders, and but you know, it is very interesting. I think with China, with the CCP, it doesn't really have any principles. It only go after like interest, or if they think it is now for in their interest to work with somebody, like to support Russia and to create more trouble for the US. They will do it. They don't have a, a fundamental principle that they really want to stick. They can change their slogan, can completely reverse their slogan as time go. Like the one time they can say, "Oh, Soviet Union is our friend." The next day they will say, "Oh, Soviet Union is our enemy." One
Enemy.
day the US is our enemy, and another day US is our best friend. So they don't have their principles. They can change their stance according to their needs at any time. So this kind of, I think, entity is very dangerous, and nobody should trust it. That's how I view this matter.
So there are two questions which are similar and connected. So I'll just take them. And one will be a little bit of a personal question, which will be for you, which I really want to hear about. Rahul says, thank you so much, Rahul. He says, what will happen first? America becomes woke, communist, or China becomes democratic? Let's keep that as a point one. And the second one, Mr. Batra asks, is the CCP thought to replace Xi Jinping if things get worse, or he becomes a czar that no one can touch? So it's they're talking about a change of system in America and China. What would you comment to, especially the point about the China part?
I think, yes, it is very dangerous. I think is in a very dangerous verge of becoming too woke of communism. I do agree. I myself experienced a lot of censorship in America, like the big companies like YouTube, Facebook, and once Twitter all censored my content, and I feel so bad, like being lose my freedom of speech
Yeah,
even in the US. So I agree the things are very very bad in terms of the woke culture. But on the other hand, I do believe we Chinese people have a belief in heavenly rules will win in the end. So I do believe the CCP is going downhill very quick now. And what's happening in the world, like more and more people are seeing through the CCP. Once everybody in the world got deceived by the CCP and mistakenly thought the CCP is a benign, partner to work with. Now at least I think the majority of Americans have a negative view on the CCP, and what happened inside China, I think, is a manifestation of heaven eliminates CCP. I do believe heaven will eliminate CCP. So which one will come first? Uh, I I have confidence. I think that the communism will not win if the CCP goes. I think then we have more power and more people to be waken up by the woke culture in America. And now I think from what's happening with the US election now, I think more and more people are having enough of those woke agenda and maybe some extreme uh, agenda of those systems. So like what's happening in China now, I think there. I actually recently I wrote an article about the so-called second generation Reds of collectively fighting back against Xi. So I do believe there are people inside China, both within the CCP's own system and with the Chinese general public, want to fight back. It's only a matter of who how long the battle is will be lasting and who will win or who will win for the moment. So I do hope all the world, the people in all the world can support the Chinese people and encourage them to see through the evil nature of the CCP and to fight against the CCP and Xi Jinping and to fight for their own freedom and democracy, because that is the only way that a freedom can be achieved in China.
true. And this, I'm sure, will be a little personal for you. Is there now a Falun Gong revival within China? Guys, I am sure you've not seen Miss Jennifer Zeng's own personal story with Falun Gong. As a matter of fact, she did the first episode with me, and she was kind enough of telling me her story. It was it was soul shaking, if I may say that. But would you like to answer this?
I think I'm not sure whether we should call it a revival. And as far as I'm concerned, also the CCP has using the most severe persecution to suppress Falun Gong in the past 20, maybe 25 years now, since 1999. Falun Gong was never crushed. So a lot of people inside China has never, ever given up. Even like myself, I suffered imprisonment, I suffered torture, I suffered labor camp. In China, I escaped. I kept on fighting in all these years. And there are a lot of maybe tens of millions of Falun Gong practitioners still in China. They have not given up their belief. They have not given up their fight only because of the CCP's tight control over the media. So not many people know about their fighting. But as long as I am aware, there are still a huge number of Falun Gong practitioners fighting against. They don't call them fighting against the CCP. They say telling the truth about the persecution and about Falun Gong to the public. Never have such a large scale, you can say, civilian resistant movement happened in China, and never before that CCP wasn't successful. If they want, before, if the CCP wants to suppress against any group or any individual, even the former Chinese president Liu Shaoqi himself, it took only maybe an article or 3 days to suppress the whole group or this person. But for Falun Gong, they never succeeded. So right now there were more than 4 million Chinese people agreed to withdraw from the CCP or its related organizations like YouthLeague and Young Pioneers. And how was that achieved? It's because a lot of Falun Gong practitioners inside China are secretly, printing materials, distributing them in buildings, even in sometimes in government buildings, and they go to the markets, they talk to people face to face and convince them to withdraw, and if they agree, they will take down their names. Of course, the most of them, they only gave that person a fake name, but the agreement must be real. So they posted the declaration on their behalf for them to withdraw from the CCP and the YouthLeague and the Young Pioneers. So from 2004 till now, altogether over 400 million people have published their withdrawal statement on there is a website especially for this called 退党.org. So if you go there, you can check all the names there. So all this will only be able to be achieved because of the countless efforts, the continuous efforts of the large amount of Falun Gong practitioners inside China. Now they have never ever gave up. Of course, if the CCP is gone, if this Falun Gong is again being able to publicly, spread inside China, there will be a lot of more people practicing Falun Gong, and at that time maybe you can call it a revival, but it has never gone.
Ma'am, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure and learning experience talking to you. And you've especially taken out the time, especially when you're not well and you've got a throat itch as well. Guys, you've given two super chats which now not been able to take, but I want to let her go because I don't want her to spoil her throat. And I will promise you guys, I will get her back very soon. Uh, and I'll do a lesser amount of interview and take more questions from you guys so that we can actually have. I think all of these guys have had quite a good time interacting with you. So please follow her channel, follow her work, follow her on Twitter. She writes a lot. Follow her for the inside news on China, like I do. And I kind of look at what she says and with a lot of interest. So thank you so much, ma'am, for spending the time, and I'll see you next time. Jai Hind.
Thank you.